couple of years down the road, you get really into jazz.
Okay.
You start to gain like a newfound appreciation for it, you know?
Any particular reason why? I don't have anything against jazz. It's generally not something I seek out.
So you did a show where there was a live jazz band playing behind you as you tell jokes. And there was just something about that night that just like transformed your entire view of jazz. Before that, you'd be like, jazz, well, that's just a bunch of idiots making it
I'd
up
never
as they
say that
go
about
along.
jazz. Are you
Who?
fucking kidding? I wouldn't say that about jazz or jazz musicians.
Well, not
Again,
anymore. So you like you went up there and you started kind of riffing a little bit where you were like talking about how you don't really know that much about jazz and they start, playing behind you and you start kind of like imitating their you start like telling jokes to the tune of jazz. So you'd be like, why did the chicken cross the road? Oh yeah, to get to the other side, babe. Oh yeah.
that does not, the number one that sucks, but that is like not like a jazz riff.
No, that's a Miles Davis song. Do do
It's
do
like
do 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 do. They play Kind of Blue in its entirety, and you just start like riffing along to it. And let me tell you something, Aaron. By the time it, the tune modulates from D to E flat, you had this fucking audience in the palm of your hand.
I think that's would speak more to my skill as like a comedian than it would my appreciation for jazz music.
Well, this is where it like comes from, you know. So like later on, like later on in the set, you're like, "Did you hear about camping? It's intense." But bum. You start doing stuff like that along with the music. So you're kind of, riffing and rocking. And after that night, like you talk to the band afterward, and you're like, "Man, that was really fun. Like, what was that album?" And they like, "Oh, it's called Kind of Blue. It's a Miles Davis album. You should check it out."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Huh, maybe I will."
I've like I'm already familiar with Kind of Blue.
Yeah, but now you are familiar, but now it's almost like you feel it in your DNA. That's how intense your love of jazz has become. And it's instantaneous, baby.
So
And
what? You get it?
so you have this appreciation of jazz. One and not even just strictly, the stuff that Miles Davis was doing, you know? You're not just a guy who only listens to modal jazz. Couldn't be you. You like it all. Ragtime, smooth jazz.
Oni James.
Smooth jazz has a particular hold on you lately.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. One evening you're like you're driving home, listen to the radio. DJ Jason Light is like, "All right, welcome to you're listening to WLANALAX radio. This is DJ Jason Light, 105.9 smooth jazz, only the smoothest. This is smoother than smooth peanut butter, my friends. And now the latest from Kenny G. It's off his latest album, I'm Kenny G. This is his newest single, just just jazzing around.
Oh man.
So
Oh.
Just Jazzing Around starts playing by Kenny G and the Kenny G band. And I gotta tell you, Aaron, you
What?
practically melt into your car seats. It's actually the smoothest jazz that you've ever heard in your fucking life.
A jazz in my pants.
A little bit. It's so smooth that for a moment you're like, man, am I gonna like fall asleep listening to this? Like that's how
It's
smooth.
sleepy time jazz?
Well, it's jazz so smooth that for a second you feel like it could knock you unconscious.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Kenny G, a master of his craft.
You get home, you walk up the steps, your front yard, open the door, and standing there
No.
is your wife.
Oh, okay. She should be there.
She's like,
What's her
"Eh,
deal?
oh, her name is um Amanda Jameson.
Why'd you say it like that?
Amanda J. Jameson is her name.
Yeah,
Her last name is spelled Jaymousoeoghn. It's like the traditional Irish spelling.
that's the traditional Irish spelling.
Yeah. So
Are you fucking kidding me? Well,
but
Jesus Christ.
lately though, she's been going by Mrs. Brooks.
Okay.
So so
What's going what's
you
her
guys
issue? What's the deal?
you guys met so you were like walking around, you're like going for a walk, and
Yeah.
you walked by this like college campus, um the University of Love. And the University of Love, it's called that because it was founded by this guy named Percy Love. He was a billionaire with a broken heart. And
Yeah.
after his wife died, he just got rid of all of his money immediately. Like he just put it in like a trust fund essentially to one day create a university. And he died penniless, but he's like, at least I feel clean. Up until the day
All
he
right.
died, people could see him muttering about like certain deals he had made and sacrifices and stuff like that. But people were just sort of like, well, that was a long time ago. So Percy Love founded the University of Love, and you were just kind of like going for a walk. Like there's really pretty grounds there. You know what I mean? And so you were walking, and then you saw this kid kind of like walked up next to you, and he just kind of and it's weird. Like you guys like make eye contact, and you've never seen this kid before a day in your life. He's never seen you,
Yeah.
and you kind of like make eye contact, and you like face forward, and then
Yeah.
you both take off at the same time,
Are you fucking kidding me?
and then like do like a bunch of like flips through the air and stuff like that, and land perfectly. It's the only time you've ever done this in your life, and you kind of look down at him, and he's like, "Whoa." So you're in a good mood that day, and you kept walking, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna like explore this campus a little bit. And so you actually went into a classroom, and on the wall, or not on the wall, on the chalkboard, the teacher had left like an unsolved equation up on the board,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Look, if you can solve this equation, I mean, we'll probably hire you. Like this is unsolvable." And you saw it, and you were just like, "Huh." And you didn't really know what it was, and so you just started like writing random shit all over it at the end. You're just kind of like playing around, and you're like, because you're looking at
Why
it,
the
and you're
fuck would I do that?
because I
In
don't know.
front of other people, no less.
Well, no, there's no one there at this
Oh,
point. Yeah, and so the teacher just left it up on the board for people to copy down and walked away. And so you go in there and you just write a bunch of random shit, and you like walk away. And as you walk away, someone goes like, sir, stop. And you were like, huh? And the
Yeah.
head of math for the University of Love runs up to you and she's like, holy shit, like you solved the unsolvable equation of Baphomet. And so you get hired at the University of Love. And basically because you just kind of by accident, like goodwill hunting, like you pulled a goodwill hunting basically. And people are like in awe of you. It becomes readily apparent that like you don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. I wouldn't take the job. I would not take that job. I would tell her, look, this was a prank gone horribly right. And this is the most bizarre,
But
just fucking,
they just think that you're being like really like humble, you
and I'm
know.
going to tell them, like, no, I'm very dumb and totally uneducated. Like, this was just the best luck I could have possibly imagined.
When she introduces you to the rest of the staff, she's like, you
I'm
know,
not taking this job.
I've been.
They want me to do math. Like, I'm so bad at math. I'm not good at math at all.
And they
Like,
like I said, it becomes pretty apparent. Like in that first interview, they're like, so how are you able to solve that? And you were like, and like you kind of wanted the job, to be honest with you. You kind of need the money, so you're like, fuck it, and you just kind of like bullshitted, and they were like, what?
I wouldn't do that. That's not going to be sustainable at all. Why the fuck would I do that?
Because you're
Why
just
the
like,
fuck
look,
would I do
you're
that?
like, look, I'm just gonna ride this. I'm gonna see how far I can take this. And
Yeah,
so,
I'm not gonna fucking. I gotta fill out paperwork. I gotta
yeah,
bring two forms of ID. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with that shit that I know is gonna end in abject failure because
and
I'm a fraud. I'm a
and
fucking fraud.
within a week, they're like, man, this is pretty much an abject failure. So, they, obviously you can't work there anymore, but
Yeah.
you couldn't stop thinking about the head of math at Love University or the University of Love. And so you guys actually ended up meeting up and sparks flew. One thing led to
So
another.
even though she knew that I was a documented liar,
Well,
even though that she knew that
yeah.
I swindled the University of Love out of whatever money they gave me, she still is like, yeah, I want to meet this guy.
Yeah, because at first she kind of thinks like that, but then thinks back on it and she's like, it did kind of seem like he kept telling us that like he didn't know what he was doing. And I guess, man, I guess he wasn't humble at all. He was just being honest. Huh. And so after that, she was like kind of able to rationalize it or whatever.
Jesus, this sucks. This fucking sucks.
Why? You guys get
Because like
married and
this
stuff.
woman, this yeah, but it's like based on a lie. It's based on a math lie.
Well, yeah, but her thing is she's like, look, I try to be pragmatic about everything, you know? So yeah, you came in and you just bullshitted your way into this job and definitely caused a lot of unnecessary paperwork, but you solved this equation that everyone thought was impossible. The same thing I look at it like, yeah, my first marriage it didn't work out, but it gave me my beautiful son. Aaron Brooks, you have become the stepdad.
No, come on. This is my inevitability. This is like the prophecy being fulfilled.
Yeah, and you kind of like think that to yourself, like the first time that like that you meet the kid, but he's okay. He's a little distant, from you,
Yeah,
but
I get it.
not in a necessarily like a hostile way. He's just like I don't really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of like, you give him his space, but you do try to get, a little involved,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really work. And
Why?
because he's just, he's an 8-year-old kid, and
Well, I mean, that takes time, you know? You can't
it
expect that
takes
to
time.
work right
Yeah.
away, you
So that's what
know?
I'm saying. And so it's sort of,
I've
it's
danced
taking
this
some time.
dance.
You've danced this dance before, and I got to
Yeah.
tell you, Aaron, the moves are coming back.
They never leave you.
One morning, you go, you go downstairs. Breakfast is waiting for you.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, you and Amanda take um, turns making breakfast from week to week.
Okay.
So it's her week to make breakfast.
Okay.
So she made crepes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they good?
They're the best crepes that you have ever had in your life.
I've only had crepes a handful of times, so I'm not like super, I don't have like a great frame of reference of crepes.
No,
So it
you
probably
don't.
wouldn't be it's probably a pretty low bar,
Yeah, so that's the thing is you'd think that, but these crepes are so good
but they are exceptional.
that they're exceptional crepes. And so
Okay.
you're like, holy shit, you're like reeling from the sensation. And you look over at your stepson. Uh his name is Quentin.
Quentin?
Yeah. Um Quentin Jameson, yeah. And so you're like, hey, how about these crepes, huh? And like just completely out of nowhere, he just screams, "You're not my dad!" and just runs out. Amanda's like, "Oh my God, like where what?" She's like kind of like in shock almost.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I've never seen him do anything like that." Oh
Yeah.
man. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense. He has been kind of complaining a lot about you lately."
What the fuck does that even mean?
She's like, "It's a thing." She's like, "I'm just gonna
He's
go
an 8-year-old child. What is he complaining about? Like,
just your presence, your
what are, what
overall."
are what are his issues?
She's like, "Aaron, we'll just talk about this later." She's like, "I got a headache. I'm just gonna go lie down."
Yeah.
So she goes upstairs. You hear like her door close, and you're like, "Man, this morning it started off so good, and now it started off with crepes, and now it's just anger." You
So
kind of like,
how long have we been together at this point?
you guys have been together for a year, married
And
for married for six
child is
months. Yeah,
still not talking to me after a year?
yeah, and you kind of think that to yourself. You go back to your
Also, like, I'm not marrying this woman if I have this kind of a relationship with a child.
well
That
at
seems like
well
bad for all parties involved.
at first he was like he's always been kind of distant, but it seemed like at first he was definitely a bit more willing to make an attempt and put up with you and
What does that
you
even mean? Put up with me.
well you're just like
What am I
some
what am I doing that's like being offensive or like a negative presence in this
well
kid's home?
you're like some guy that he doesn't really know, and now you're like sharing a house with him. He's a little weirded out.
I mean, I've been around for a year, you know. I would expect we'd be beyond the stage where you just scream, "You're not my dad" at me when I ask you about breakfast. But also, like, I'm not marrying that woman if that's the relationship that I have with this kid.
and
I'm
you
not
kind of
marrying that woman unless I have like a fantastic relationship with this child. I'm not putting a kid into that.
and you kind of thought that at first, um
Yeah,
but I got to tell you, Aaron, you fall for this woman
doesn't matter.
the way that like walls fall to invaders.
It doesn't matter. When you date somebody with a child, you're like the kid is part of it.
Right.
And I wouldn't put a kid in that kind of a situation out of lust or, I wouldn't do that.
But you did.
I
So
wouldn't fucking do that. God damn it, Pat.
you turned back to your breakfast, and sitting across the table from you is an old friend, someone that you haven't seen since you were a little boy, someone you haven't thought about for decades. But suddenly it all comes rushing back to you. When you were young, you had an imaginary friend that was a 8 foot tall talking green gorilla, and you guys would go. Sometimes you'd play with them and just have mundane, little boy activities. You guys would run and play in the woods, and you'd like find a stick and pretend it was a sword. You guys would go, fight imaginary, you know, wolves or whatever. Sometimes they were crazy. Sometimes they eventually were. They always turn into these weird, crazy imaginary adventures. And just one day, it's not like you consciously rejected your imaginary friend, Gary the green gorilla. It's just one day he just kind of stopped showing up,
Yeah.
and you kind of forgot about it.
Okay. But he's back.
He's sitting across the table from you. He's got a gigantic fucking banana already peeled in his hand. He's like, Aaron, it's Gary. Do you remember me? What do you do?
Is this like a visage of Gary? Or is this like an in the flesh?
He's a cartoon green gorilla.
I go, yeah, Gary, I remember you.
He goes,
It's been a
oh,
long time.
he goes, it's been a very long time, Aaron. He goes, I understand that you're married now.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
He takes a big chomp out of that fucking banana.
I say, what's new with you?
He's like, oh, just sort of going around having adventures with the various kids who can still see us. The banana is like fully grown back. It's still unpeeled, but like the banana's whole again.
I don't like that.
So he goes like, Aaron, look, I know you're having some trouble with Quentin lately, and I think I can help you out. I have
Yeah.
kind of a. He's like, yeah, I'm a kid's imaginary friend, and I know you, Aaron, and I've been a lot of kids' imaginary friends, but I had a lot of fun being yours, and I know the type of guy you are, and I feel like I can help you connect with this kid.
I I would say, so Gary, I really appreciate the time that we spent together. It means a lot to me, even to this day. And I'm a little overwhelmed just even talking to you right now. I said, but
Yeah,
I could not in good conscience put that upon this child without talking to them, without consent. Like I couldn't do that.
yeah, and
Plus, like I haven't seen you in fucking 30 years, man. A lot of shit can change in 30 years. I might be a horrible human that you don't want to help. You might be a gorilla, on the lookout for revenge. I don't know.
yeah, and he like nods, and he's like, okay, he's like, yeah, you've given me a lot to consider, Aaron,
We'll always have the 90s.
and he looks at you and he goes, we'll always have the '90s.
Yeah.
And then like a portal opens behind you, and then you slip on a banana peel and like fall into it.
What the fuck?
He falls behind you,
What the fuck,
and
man?
you kind of go like, what the hell? And he's like, well, while you're here,
No,
you kind of like look
no.
around, and you see that you're in this like almost, it's like a looks like the rainforest almost, but all the different leaves are all different bright colors, and there's like a river by you that has like a face on it, and it's like hello, Aaron, as it like goes past you, it has like bubbles and
What
stuff
the
in it.
fuck is going on?
And Gary, the green gorilla, looks at you and he goes, Aaron, welcome to the Imagination Station. It's where all the imaginary friends live. He goes on,
Send me home right now. I don't see you for 30 fucking years. You disappear out of my life and my conscience forever. Like, and you show up and you take me to a fucking realm where the river's talking to me. Send me the fuck home, man. See, this is the kind of shit that I was saying. I don't want to spring things on people because I hate this.
he goes,
I want to go home.
all right, Aaron. He goes, look, we can only open this portal once an hour. So, give us like an hour and we'll send
Fine.
you home. He goes, I'm
I
sorry.
fucking wait right
He
there.
goes, sorry about the banana peel, man. Completely unintentional.
I wait. I just stand in one spot and I wait.
A parrot flies by and he like smiles at you and his teeth look like the keys of a piano.
I'm not looking at this fucking piano tooth parrot. I'm not looking.
So as
I
you're
got my head
sitting,
down.
yeah.
I'm looking at my phone and I'm watching the minutes tick by until I can get the fuck out of this place.
So your phone but doesn't work in the imagination station. Like it's just
Well,
like
then
a
I,
like
I
a
I tell him, just say, tell me when the portal's ready. If it's not about that, fuck off.
Gary's like, okay, Aaron. He's like, sorry about this.
Yeah, you should be sorry about this. You can't take somebody to another realm without telling them. I slipped on a goddamn banana peel.
Yeah. And
You
so
got to pair it with piano key teeth.
there's all kinds
You
of like
don't.
imaginary like animals and friends and stuff like that.
God, I hate
Um,
this.
so you kind of wait there for like for an hour. The portal opens back up, and Gary's like, "Before you leave, Aaron, we have something to tell you."
What?
He goes, "The Lanalax Corporation is trying to destroy the Imagination Station. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like the whole banana peel thing earlier, it was a setup. We need your help."
You
He,
motherfucker.
he goes,
You fucking show up after 30 years and you trick me into slipping into a portal on a banana peel.
he's like, "Aaron, out of all of the kids that I was an imaginary friend for, you know the most about jazz."
Are you fucking with the jazz?
He goes,
You
"Yeah."
kidding me?
So basically, the Lanalax Corporation has been at war with the Imagination Station for quite some time, and the way that they've decided to settle it is like a one-on-one duel in a knowledge of jazz. They go, "Will you represent us, Aaron? Will you save the Imagination Station?"
Man, I really don't want to. I really don't want to. You fucking tricked me. You didn't talk to me like a human being. You didn't
He goes,
come to
I'm a
me.
green gorilla. I'm not." He
You
goes, "I'm
showed up at my
imaginary."
fucking at my goddamn kitchen table. You showed up there. You asked for this other kid, and now you fucking tricked me with a goddamn banana peel.
He's like, "Yeah, but look, they're gonna. I don't know
Fine,
anything about
fine, I'll do it.
jazz."
Only because I love talking about jazz. Fine, I'll do it.
They're all like, "Yes." You like blink, and when you open your eyes, you're sitting at like a table, and it's like you're in the middle of like a gladiator ring. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're surrounded by what appears to be an endless amount of people.
God damn it.
You don't know if it's like thousands, hundreds of thousands, but there's a lot, and they're all like, "Oh!" Everyone's going crazy for the jazz trivia competition. And sitting across from you is your opponent in this duel. This man, without a doubt, is the baldest man that you have ever seen in your fucking life.
Yeah.
You think to yourself, man, that smooth jazz that I heard earlier, it's got nothing on the smoothness of this man's head. His eyes are like a deep blue, you know,
Yeah.
so deep that you're like, man, if I fell into them, I feel like I'd fall for a million years. He smiles at you. He's got rows and rows of shark teeth. He goes, hello, Aaron. My name is Icebones Jones, head of communication for the Lanalax Corporation. And I understand you know a little bit about jazz. He
I go,
smile
yeah, I
he
do. Sorry.
smiles. He smiles and like his teeth glint. And for a second, you're like blind.
Jesus Christ.
And you come back and you kind of like rub your eyes and you look down and you're like, holy shit. And everything about the teeth, everything about his weird, you know, infinite eyes, everything about the baldness of this guy goes out of your mind for a second because this man is wearing, without a doubt, the sharpest suit that you've ever seen in your fucking life. Crisp. You look at it, and for a second, you're like, that's what I should be focusing on. That's what I
Suit.
should be worried about. This fucking suit.
That's the number one threat in this scenario. Not
For
this guy
yeah,
with a threatening aura and rows of shark teeth, but the suit.
you have that like thought just for like a second. It doesn't make any sense, but you're just like, whoa, that was weird. And so he like smiles at you, and then you hear like a voice coming from like a loudspeaker above, and they go, question number one to Aaron Brooks of Earth. Aaron, what year was Miles Davis born? What do you say?
I mean, like, I guess how the fuck would I know that? Like you said, me in this scenario would know a lot about jazz. I don't know that.
So you kind of like your mind goes
Can I?
blank, and you're like,
This fucking sucks. This is
and then
bullshit.
you hear
This is
like a
fucking bullshit.
you hear like a
No, 1926.
but before you answer, it goes, and then Ice Bones Jones smiles at you,
And I
and
said, dude,
he
I
mo-
got that off.
he moves so quickly that it's almost like you don't even see his arm move as he
Are
slashes your
you
throat.
fucking kidding me?
It's
Are you
almost like
fucking serious?
you see an after image of it happen, and there's no pain or anything. It's just like your head just rolls.
My head gets cut off because I get one question wrong because I ran out of time and just fucking threw a Hail Mary. What the hell
Your
happened to all this jazz knowledge that I had?
your head like
What happened
lands.
to it?
Your head lands like upright, and
This fucking
what's
sucks.
weird is
Fuck
that like
this.
it turns out that when your head is like decapitated or whatever, you stay alive for like just for like a few
Yeah,
seconds, and you
right.
see the Lanalax Corporation just like completely burn the imagination station to the ground instantly. All of the imaginary friends die. They're like burned
Who
to death.
cares? That fucking sucks. What a
You
bait and switch.
you die in the imagination station, and no one knows like what happened to you. Amanda just assumes that you like ran away. Quentin grows up to be the biggest serial killer the world has ever seen.
Oh my God, Quentin. God damn it. Jesus Christ. How many does he get?
406 in 1 year.
Quentin.
After that, they're like, we're not even going to bother keeping track of this.
That fucking sucks.